G'day fans and welcome back to another exciting episode of the old Rip It Off the Cardy show, talking about collectors and collectibles. It is the most exciting thing you could ever happen on a Wednesday night. How good is that? Now I'm actually here with my co-host, Mr. Aaron. How you going, old son?
Good. It's been a chilly day in Melbourne today, hasn't it? I had the heater on in the shop and it managed to warm the shop up by about 5 minutes before we closed again.
What is the deal with the world, mate? It is absolutely freezing outside, cold enough to freeze the nuts off a tractor. And I tell you what, over on the other side of the world, everything's burning. The place is going to the complete crapper. And the funny thing is, I was saying to this someone the other day, all we need now, there's like all the fuel's going up and the mortgages are going up and there's food shortages and this and that, whatever else. Who's going to be the first people who said, oh, we're going to market a brand new food stuff? It's actually wafers, colored wafers. And go, mate, when that happens, we are going to the crapper big time, because Soil and Green was actually set in 2022. So how about that, dude?
There you go. What will they tell us? It's plankton from the sea compressed into wafers or something?
Exactly right. All I can say out there, fans, if you're not exactly au fait with what I'm talking about, stay away from the green ones, all right? Because if you've got an old rello who's decided to kick the bucket last week, you could be munching down on them this week and thinking, oh, it tastes a bit like grandma. How good's that?
Well, I'll tell you what, if I had a sudden heart attack and donated myself to the Soylent Foundation, I would feed one small African country for a year.
I tell you what, I'm bad dags. If I had a wafer made out of you, I wouldn't just be chowing that puppy down. I'd be sitting there just doing it really slow.
Maybe people don't want to know what you were going to do with that wafer.
Oh, I tell you what, everybody just shows the start and I'm already heading down some dark paths. And I tell you what, it's a wafer thin. What can I say? Now exactly right. So Soil and Green was set in 2022. The world's going to the shithouse at the moment. Who knew back in the 70s they were predicting what was going to happen 50 years hence? Watch out for those wafers. Now, the Vial is with us. It's Nerds in Hats, and we just got to put out a bit of a thing about the Vial. He was a bit on the crook side in the past few days. So hopefully he's back at home and recovering and recuperating and hasn't violated himself, so to speak. So I just wanted to say, Mr. Vial, we are thinking about you, and hoping that you're cooking on gas.
We're happy that you're not visiting us as a force ghost. You're here in person.
Indeedy doody diddy. Colin has made a mention about his leg ended up as a Soil and Green wafer. Yes, exactly right. So keep your eyes out. It could be like in Star Wars: Attack of the Clones when the Mastiffs, the dogs, are chewing on a leg bone. So maybe that was Colin's. You never know.
You just imagine the Colin Parkinson take-home bucket.
Oh, mate, I'll be burying that one in the garden. What can I say? Absolutely fantastic. Two more things I've got to talk about. I like that. Yes, Soil and Green is made from Edward G. Robinson, which is kind of funny because that was actually his last movie. So there you go. And while I'm at it, now I had a bit of a catch up with some people on the Saturday and had some great friends come down. We're talking about the Con Knife Matter Space get together from when Jeffro was here. Now, Jeffro, the lad of all lads, decided to make some coffee coasters, right? Using images of Aaron and myself. And of course, this is what my one looks like. Now, can you look at that? I've got a hole in my head. How about that? It's like you can clearly see I speak too much, right? So it's like, yeah, well done, sir.
What's very cool, when you hold it up higher, your mouth, you can make it look like you're talking. Look, look, Dags is talking.
So hang on, I'm gonna put it this way because the microphone's over here. Hang on, I'm gonna get it right a second. So anyway, so I'm going to say thank you very much. Hang on, I'm going to do this over here with Jeffro. He's an absolute legend. How you going, Aaron? You having a good time over there? Once you pop, you can't stop. All that sort of thing.
Like, Dags, you're fired. You've been replaced with CD Dags.
The worst thing is far more entertaining than I am. What can I say? Absolutely fantastic. Now, I've got one more thing I want to cover off before I'll get on to you. Is there anything you want to say before we get into the actual show proper? Because I've got something I've got to bring up, which I'm going to do pretty quickly.
No, I think I've already said enough.
Very, very cool. Yes, exactly right. At least you can drink coffee. On TV at the moment, right? One of the worst TV shows in the history of the planet is on Beauty and the Geek. What an utter load of utter shit it is. Now, I can tell that show, they've deliberately reverse engineered their geeks. They've gotten these dudes who they know are going to look okay once they sort of clean them up and shave their beards and all this sort of bullshit. And I'll tell you what, if it was up to me, mate, I'd go to that show and say, you know what, I'll give you some geeks that no amount of waxing and hair cutting is going to fix. Real hardcore geeks. What do you reckon about that, Mr. Aaron? The only way to get the girl is to make them look good, like normal people. I mean, it doesn't change their personality at all. What is the deal with that? How unbelievably superficial is that show?
I'm pretty sure that the production budget would stretch to the liposuction that you would need for, you know, a lot of these people that you'd find who would fit our geek criteria rather than the show's geek criteria.
Yeah, it's unbelievably superficial. It's actually insulting too, saying, "Oh, okay, these dudes can't pick up the ladies, so we have to sort of give them a complete makeover." Whoever thought, and just go to the women and say, "How about we just downgrade you a little bit, make you look like the geeks?" So I can't stand the premise of the show. I think it's unbelievably insulting on a whole lot of levels. And the key thing is, Moneybag Sullivan, who's not with us at the moment, actually auditioned to be on the show a couple of seasons ago, and he got knocked back because, believe it or not, if you can believe this, he wasn't geeky enough. What is the deal with that?
Gee, I don't know. I think it's one of those things where geek is a bit chic now, not like what we grew up with. So it's a different kind of show from, you know, if they did Retro Geeks, Beauty and the Geek 1980, it'd be a lot different.
Yep, no, I totally agree with you. So I think I'm surprised all the PC keyboard warriors aren't up in arms saying it's exploitation of people and, you know, the way they treat them, and the fact that they've got these dudes now have to go through a makeover to make themselves look attractive. And I thought, well, that's complete rubbish. It really is. So, but anyway, you are right. Yes, exactly right. So he actually got rejected, and he was proud of it too, that he got knocked back. And yes, Moneybag Sullivan is here, and he got knocked back. He wasn't geeky enough. And anybody who knows Moneybag Sullivan will know he's unbelievably geeky. He should have slipped right on in. And I know he would have been miffed because he thought, I'll audition for the show, get to hook up with a hot chick, and I'll be good and earn some money while I'm at it. But no, he got given the ass. So
maybe he's one of those geeks that has such a massive drag factor. Instead of the hot girls making him better, he would drag their level back down to his level.
Yeah, that would mean. Oh, imagine that! You get the hot babes all suddenly. He's talking about, you know, the intricacies of like Star Wars spaceships and, you know, Admiral, the uniforms that he's got and everything like that. Oh my God, the ratings would have just plummeted. Mark Dunn, fun factoid. He's the Dalek in one of the older promos a few years back. That probably didn't even know what it was. So anyway, Beauty and the Geek, a complete and utter shit. So if they want real geeks, come to me. I'll fix them up with geeks that they can never get the women attracted to. So, but we're not here to talk about that. We're actually here to talk about collectibles and collecting. We've got a whole lot of really groovy stuff. So I suppose we should kick it off. So let's get into it. All right, Mr. Aaron. Now we're kicking it off with some absolutely fantastic collectibles, and I'm gonna, obviously don't know what I've put in first. And this one, now there's a lot of products that we show on this segment, and some of them I go, oh my God, really seriously. But sometimes on rare occasions they'll come up with something. Oh, actually that's kind of groovy. And in this case, they're doing a bit of a Nosferatu like bust. And the first thing before I get to you, I found interesting. If you look at the picture on the left, I was thinking, why have they got fangs going up his nose? But then I realized I think it's just the way the plastic is bubbled and it just looks a bit iffy. So anyway, there you go. Over to you.
Well, I'm going to tell you something, and all of a sudden you're going to go, oh, it's not as cool as I thought it was. But it is a very cool bust. But can you see what it's called? It's called a spinnature. Do you know what it's actually for?
No.
It's if you can believe this, it's a record decoration. So when you play a record, you sit this in the middle of the record player, and Nosferatu like spins around as you play the record.
That's ridiculous. What's the point of that? I mean, it actually, hang on, really? Hang on. That doesn't work, because where does the arm of the stylus go?
Well, that sits on the middle part of the record where there's the
player. So it's really tiny.
Yeah, so it's a miniature. It's called a spinnature because they spin around. They spin you right round like a record, baby. But,
I'll tell you what. Yeah. If I was after these things, I wouldn't be caught dead or alive with this. I have to get the joke in there somewhere. So there you go.
Well, it is one of those things where I do think it is a very cool, and I wouldn't use it for what they're saying it's for. Nah. If you had they've done a whole series of these, and this is unusual because you don't really see a lot of the original Nosferatu come up, and it's quite a good version of him. It's just they've sort of merged two things together, record playing and classic monsters. It kind of is a bit weird. So if you're into Nosferatu and vampires, this is a very nice little collectible. I don't know if I'd ever put it on the middle of a record while I was playing it, though.
No, totally agree. I just realized you got the rat down here. All right, now, Rusky Babes will know the answer to this question, so he can't answer it. Okay, what was the name? Obviously, it's based on Dracula, right? So when he's not in his Nosferatu state, what was his name?
I know. Do you want me to... Count Orlok.
Very good. Nicely done. So, yes, it was Count Orlok, which is particularly groovy. And for those who really love their nerdy stuff, The actor who played Count Orlok / Nosferatu was called Max Schreck. And of course,
Yeah.
Max Schreck was a significant character in Batman Returns. So, how nerdy is that? Thomas,
Do you
good
know
guess,
what?
but hang on.
Do you know what? It brings things full circle now. If Christopher Walken played Nosferatu in a movie in the future.
Well, they did do a remake of Nosferatu, and they used John Malkovich, but no,
Yeah.
definitely not. That is the case. But look, even if the thing is only this big, it does look very, very groovy. And the idea of putting on a record player—that's just freaking stupid. But
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, Fred Nosferatu, definitely not. There you go. Good.
Do you know what they call the sequel to Nosferatu? Nosferatu
3. Very good. Yes, and there you go. Adzi is agreed. Yeah, the joke sucked. Absolutely. Now, speaking of really cool things, this one's come up and I go, oh, check this one out. This, kids, if you love your Lord of the Rings, you can't go past the old Witch King of Angmar. Oh, dude.
Yeah, so this is actually a really great statue if you're into the Lord of the Rings. This is a prime 1/4 scale, so you know this is really huge. You've got the head of the fell beast there that he rides as well, so you know it's quite a significant piece. And I do think it's interesting because you look at the pictures and it's the same statue, but the different lighting really gives it a different mood depending on if you've got your green neons on one day, you've just got the daylight lens, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, they have the it has the green thing when they're at the castle. I can't think where it was, so that's probably where that green concept comes from. That the lighting,
Yeah.
but that's particularly cool. I always found it funny in the movie, and I don't know if it's in the story, that Eowyn ends up killing him, right? And of course, the Witch King says, "I can't be killed by any man," and of course, she's a female. And I thought, hang on, are they talking about gender or are they talking about race? Because I would have thought, oh, you got to be a human. A human can't kill him, as opposed to a male versus a female. I thought there was a bit of a
I think he was talking about race, and then she flipped it on him and gave him the finger with the gender card.
Yeah, so it's kind of funny, eh? I mean, what a couple of extra chromosomes allow the Witch King to be killed by a human being. So it's sort of playing on semantics. Back when Tolkien wrote it, obviously it worked. But on screen, you go, oh, hang on, really? So can't be killed by a bloke? What happens to transgenders and all that sort of business? What happens there? You could kill me yesterday, but you can't kill me today. So
I don't know. We probably don't want to go there unless we want to do a review of the Rings of Power trailer. That's
exactly right. Yes. Anyway, so exactly right. But yes, that does look particularly groovy, and you do actually have the size down there, the 57 and 59 centimeters and all that. So it's a bit of a big one. So
it is. It's a whopper.
Yeah, extra large Witch King of Angmar. I got to say, it does look very, very cool. So so this would be a bit of a beast. Now, you sent through these pictures. I'm not entirely sure why you did it, but we've got some superpowers stuff with this dude.
Well, it's interesting because you would recognize these from the 80s, wouldn't you? These is the original superpowers line. The guy holding them in the background is actually McFarlane from McFarlane Toys, and they have got the rights and they're reissuing new versions of the superpowers.
Yeah, I was wondering if it was or not, because it can't be just some random dude. It's got to be a very, very cool dude. There you go. Just going way back, they did make a movie about the making of Nosferatu where Max Schreck was a real vampire. Yes, I do remember that, but I don't think I ever saw it.
Yeah.
And I thought maybe I'm on my way to being a bit of a McFarlane lad because I've actually got the same T-shirt that he's wearing. So
there you go. So that's Todd McFarlane playing with the toys that he's got from his own company. Now, it's interesting. These pictures were taken from a live stream where he obviously revealed what they were going to do. But I got to tell you, McFarlane Toys, they've been making toys for a long time, but the last 12 months or the last 2 years, they've really come out with some amazing Batman stuff. And the thing that I'm impressed by is the price point. They're probably about 30% cheaper than the NECA stuff, but the stuff is still really, really good. So anyone who doesn't want to pay the original inflated prices for the original from the 80s can now look forward to getting some pretty good modern versions of those toys.
Yeah, exactly right. I don't know if, I mean, we haven't really had a discussion before about whether collectibles that are produced X amount of decades ago should look identical to what they're producing today, just to confuse the collectors. I don't know. Yeah. There's ethics for it and against it. So,
well, they're not identical. You couldn't confuse the packaging is very similar though. The packaging is good, and it goes down that path we've talked about before, where you go into Big W now, and half of the toy brands look exactly like an 80s toy shop, and this is another one that adds to the He-Man and Transformers and Ninja Turtles that are all using the retro packaging to get that nostalgia dollar from the adults who are collecting toys more than kids these days.
Yeah, and it's becoming a very common thing. The thing I picked up about Todd McFarlane is wearing his sunglasses upside down. So that's when you're that rich, you can afford to do that.
Yeah.
Very cool stuff. So there you go. If you like your superpowers and all that other funky stuff, go out there, check it out. And if you can't get the real thing, it is the next best thing in line. Very good. All right, guess what, kiddies? We're going to do something slightly different regarding this. Now, you've seen this segment a million times, and of course, it's time for this.
Useless Pop of the Week!
But what we're going to do this time is we're going to show you the pop without the box, and you have to guess what it is. Now, some of them are relatively straightforward, but you have to guess the actual name of what it's called. Don't just say, oh, it's that character, because sometimes the character is really obvious. But other times, we'd actually need you to explain to us what it is regarding its merchandising and marketing. So get along to this, kids. What's the deal with that?
Well, it looks like a pop that's been wrapped up for Christmas, doesn't it, or something like that?
So just quickly out there, those who are watching this show right now, what do you reckon that is? Remember, not the character. You need to actually explain it as it would be on the box. Otherwise, if you just had a character, it's way too easy. So, but I mean, seriously, dude, what's the deal?
I don't know. I saw this, and I think you'll agree with me. It is something that probably didn't need to be produced because the character is already an example of what they're trying to say it is.
I like this from Tom. Yeah, Target's a new mascot. Actually, very, very cool. You take out the star, and you got like the you got the word mascot. Got that? Yeah, exactly right. So the prices are going down, down, down. Moneybag Sullivan is a Captain America artisan. Oh, that's a very, very fun. I didn't even know you even know what the word meant. Moneybags artisan. Very, very cool. Here we go. Captain America 4th of July Thanksgiving special. Oh, there you go. And then Michael's also said 4th of July as well. Well, believe it or not, kids, I don't think you're even close to the truth. It is Captain. I can't even read that. It's from the Falcon and Winter Soldier. I have to bring out the magnifying glass of truth. I can't even read it. What does it say, dude?
It's the Captain America patriotic version.
Yeah. What's the deal with that? Seriously, what is the go? Tell me, mate.
Now, the interesting thing is they did a whole range of pops, the patriotic version. So you could get Spider-Man with the same makeover and a couple of the different Avengers with the same makeover. They may have done it for the 4th of July. I don't know. So some of the guesses might have been close. But why would you need a patriotic version of Captain America? Isn't he already the poster boy for America?
Now, the best three words to sum it up, 4 words to sum it up from Ange, I don't get it. Dude, we're in the same boat. It's like they've covered the poor bastard in some kind of wrapping paper. I mean, that is ridiculous. So that's what you call getting desperate to try and sell more products. I mean, really. So
it really is one of those things where just when you think they can't think of anything more stupid, out they roll with, an even worse idea.
Yep, Captain Paperwhite, exactly right.
I can't imagine any of these selling outside of America either.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I can't imagine them selling inside America. So yes, and I agree with Michael. They've got to make money off the mold. So, that's just ridiculous, isn't it? I mean, that makes no sense. I can't imagine any Marvel fan saying, "Oh yeah, I've got to have this." I mean, this is part of my CA collection. It's like, no, it's rubbish. It really is. And I can't work out why it says Falcon and the Winter Soldier, because this character does not appear in that show. So looking like this. So yeah.
I don't know.
I like this one. Yeah, don't underestimate stupidity. Yes. What's stupid? The people who produce these things or the people who buy these things? That's the question you got to ask yourself. So,
well, it's stupid to underestimate stupidity.
Oh, mate, there's words to live by. What do you reckon? I think it's absolutely fantastic. So very, very cool. Speaking of stupid things, it's time that we move on. So the useless pop of the week is still useless, and I don't think we've had a bad pop yet that has been useful. I think that's actually important to note that. But, of course, one of the funniest segments that we always love in this series, and it's sort of grown some legs of its own, of course, is a bit of the old Greg Kings. Now, Aaron obviously is bored at the store, right? And he's got his most favourite dude in the entire universe other than me, and so he's decided to produce this little gem. Now, that is a guy with too much time in his hands. Dude, what's going on?
Well, it relates to the items that we've ordered this week, and everyone loves Ronnie, and we're trying to project him into internet stardom. He's getting 1 or 2 clicks of like every week, I think. So he's got some fans out there. Now, I was trawling through the dark corners of the web looking for amazingly priced collectibles to buy, and I found a couple of awesome items. Now, what do you must think these are okay. I think they're good items if they roll up and look like what they are.
Well, two things. Yes, they are good items. I've got no problem with that at all. But you're buying them from a dodgy company. So the chances of them turning up and looking as good as they do in the pictures are unbelievably rare. And of course, the prices. It's like, wait, what are you doing with yourself? But here we go. We're going to get ourselves a bit of genie action. How good's that?
Now, this is a replica genie bottle. It's 50% off, so it's an amazing valued piece. But the great thing is these pieces go for... They're saying it's $111 Australian, reduced to $48 Australian. These pieces usually go for about $400 or $500, so we're already ahead. And to get it with a 50% off sale or whatever it is, this is quite a coup if it actually turns up. If it actually turns up looking like that.
That's the thing. It's like, oh, yeah, it's a great thing you've got in the head and you sort of win a chicken dinner. It's like, dude, you haven't got it yet. I mean, that's the thing. But having said that, in this photograph down here, they've got the pop of Genie down there in scale with the bottle. So realistically, that bottle can't be like a Maltese budgie and turn out only this big. It has to sort of match the scale. So, but yeah, I like the way you're saying you're already a winner and you haven't even got the thing yet. I mean, if you ever get it, I love the sound of that.
Well, I think you're forgetting on the website for AliExpress, we had the Maltese Falcon pictured next to things to prove that it was full size as well.
Yeah, exactly. Ange is a happy camper because he got his Allies Express stuff yesterday. You didn't get a Hobbit home in that by chance, did you, Mr. Ange? That'd be kind of funny, wouldn't it, eh? And, of course, if you can't get enough of the old stuff, you go, HR, puffin stuff.
So this is another very cool item. Everybody, well, not everybody, but a lot of people grew up with HR puffin stuff. I definitely grew up with HR puffin stuff. And one of the iconic creations from HR Puffin stuff isn't Mayor McCheese or any of the other characters that look like they should live in McDonald land, but it's Jimmy's Magic Jimmy's Magic Flute, Freddie the Flute, who was the drive in the program for the Wicked Witch because she desperately coveted this flute. And this is for a prop replica of Jimmy. And again, it was $161, reduced to $69. That's a number that I can't resist.
Yeah, I reckon you should resist. You're an idiot. Resistance is actually futile. I love this one from Rusky Beige. You're probably for the Genie bottle, you get an empty VB bottle. That's Victoria Bitter for those. It's a beer bottle for those who don't understand what that is. I like how you're saying, oh my God, I'm thinking $70. It's like, dude, you used to be buying stuff for $30. There you're ramping it right up to 60 or whatever. And it's like, what are you doing to yourself, son?
I'm doubling down because then when I put it through the checkout, it came to $46. So that was fantastic. Remember my motto, what I always say, never underestimate stupidity.
Yeah, well, as I said, what's more stupid, the person who's buying this stuff, or the person who, oh yeah, I suppose I've got nothing else to say. I mean, you do wonder, don't you? So,
the segment will be richer for it, and I can't wait for Ronnie's reviews when they actually turn up.
Yeah, when need the if more than anything else, and yeah, there you go, kids. So get a load of that. He was, but you got the total down here of $117. Is that what you paid?
Yes.
Oh, dude, mate, what are you doing? Haven't you learnt your lessons? Don't buy cheap shit from these places because you're just ripping yourself off. I'm going to wait for them to say, send another extra $10 to ship these things quicker. What's the deal?
All I can say is the Soul Greg King is behind me on this. He came in this week and checked out Audrey 2, and he was most impressed by it. So we don't get to see him in the shop a lot. And I can see Grogu's photobombing on the TV as well, which is well timed. But Greg came down to personally check out Audrey 2 because he is into these plant-based alien life forms. He kind of collects them. So he came in and he was impressed by what he saw.
I was trying to think, what are you talking about Grogu? And then I realized, yeah, he's up there for those who hadn't noticed. There's almost 1-to-1 scale in this particular picture too. So there you go. So yeah. So good old Greg's come into the Soul Greg King's come into the store to check out good old Audrey 2. Now you reckon once he sussed it out, he thought it was a bit of the old crinoid approved. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Well, he said he got a little bit infected in the store. So you can actually see that when he was leaving, he was looking a bit green around the gills. But when he got home, he messaged me and said like he'd settled back, was having a drink and was absolutely fine. And that is actually Greg King in the crinoid costume down the bottom, which he's worn at cosplay a few times. So the Audrey has been Crinoid approved by the Soul Greg King.
So what are you trying to say? That Greg King?
Greg King, you've done it again.
I was just waiting for you to get to that line. I was going to say that beer bottle there, that could be your I Dream of Jeannie bottle that you get that Rusky Babes was referring to earlier. So what do you reckon about that?
Don't rain on my parade. I'm really waiting for this replica of I Dream of Jeannie that I'm going to get for $48 and put for $500 in the shop and have someone buy it straight away.
Yeah, exactly right. The worst part is we know exactly what you paid for it because you've said so on this show. So very, very cool.
And everyone here
I like it. You can get it collecting, you can get it expecting, you can get it watching, rip it off the card. That is very good, Rusky Babes. Well done, son. So yes, nicely done.
Yeah, everyone here is friends. They're not going to tell anyone what I paid for this stuff.
Yeah, right. Unbelievable. So if you've been watching this show and you're a bit of a regular and you turn up to the store to buy some of the Soul Greg King stuff, you know what Aaron paid for it, so you can get it at a really good discount. But for those ignoramuses out there, you know, the beauty and the geek knobs, they can just walk in there and Aaron will just add an extra 1 or 2 at the end of the price tag, and away we go. So very cool.
Something's got to pay for the wages that we earn off this show, doesn't it?
Yeah, right. Exactly right. Yeah, so we won't tell unless you want to buy it. Well, anyway, it's got to turn up first, and we'll see what happens. Now, with regards to that, there's been a bit of correspondence. There's been correspondence been going on for months now regarding Ronnie and Aaron. There's a little bit more coming with that regarding still the absent Hobbit home. And there's actually a comment that even Ronnie makes. You're like, oh, dude, good on you. So hanging shit on himself. So here we go, Mr. Aaron. Start reading, old son.
Well, last week, this was kind of last week, and it's been through the week that we've been having a bit of back and forth. Hey, Ronnie, I haven't been able to send you a product to review this week because the small home for hobbits hasn't yet arrived. I'm sounding like a cracked record here, aren't I? Even though I have paid for shipping 3 times. How can I make you an internet star if you don't send items for you to review? You disappoint me. You disappoint the Soul Greg King. You disappoint your fans. This is becoming an issue, your friend Aaron.
So one of 2 things can happen. Either Ronnie can go, yeah, whatever, or you can actually get a bit shocked and go, holy shit, I'm going to do something about that. And let's see what happened.
Hi, Aaron. Shock. This was sent over and over. I looked into it personally. I will look it up again. You got the plant so you can see integrity. If you could go to our website and order more items, I can send with one of them and then not have to ask to pay for postage again. For us to resend this for free. What are you thinking, Ronnie?
Well, you know what we're thinking? Aaron said, yep, I'll buy more items on $120 worth. Yes, like, yeah, Aaron, you're an absolute knob, son. You fell right into his clutches. How's that, eh?
Well, you could say that, except those other 2 items weren't from AliExpress. They were from another dark area of the internet.
All right, very good. I agree with you. Yep, hook, line, and sinker. Yes, exactly right. Buy more products. That's how you get your home for hobbits.
Hey, Ronnie, I really don't want to send another payment to get replacement item for free, so I will take a look at your site again. Your shop is full of many items I like the look of, and they are all sold at good prices. I will get back to you with a list of new purchases. Your friend, Aaron.
Unbelievable. So there you go. Yes, you got the plant. You can see the integrity. Exactly, words to live by. So what do you reckon Mr. Ronnie had to say about that?
Hi, Aaron. Make list of new items you want large, and you're more likely to get replacement home for hobbits. This is a joke. Small list of items is fine. Ronnie.
Yeah, so in other words, he's saying, yeah, buy some big stuff, dude, and maybe we'll slip in a home for hobbits. So yes. How about that?
Yes, so the conversation continues. I think this is going to be a long one, the way it's dragged on. I think we've had Ronnie with us all this year, haven't we?
Oh my God, yeah, it's getting a bit out of control. But you do wonder. I mean, for those of you who've been following the show, I mean, Aaron sent 3 payments for shipping, as you said, 3 times, and the thing just hasn't turned up. Where is it? Is anybody's guess. But we did catch Ronnie out a period about a couple of months ago where he said he'd sent it, and then a couple of weeks later he said, "Oh, if you send extra payment, we'll ship it faster." I'm thinking, hang on, you've already sent the damn thing. So, absolute funny stuff. Now, I'll tell you what is funny. So this is a bit of a we're heading down some dark paths here. Now, the Greg King's Cheaper Things is finished. It's absolutely fantastic. But of course, and he's watching the show right now. He just got out of hospital. He's now back at home. He's fighting fit. And of course, it's now time for the Lord Vile's Vile File. And we are going back, believe it or not, kids, to the depraved minds that we were once famous for. Isn't that right, Mr. Aaron?
I know it's been an interesting journey, and we've had a lot of different topics come up, but we've had some correspondence this week that's triggered a sort of old favourite topic, hasn't it?
It has indeed. And I'll tell you what, get ready for you keyboard warriors out there, get ready for a bit of fun. So, of course, we've got the old vile mailbag. 2 messages come through, and both of them were relatively similar in their context. So just read it out.
Dear Lord Vile, thank you for reading my comment last week. I really hope you take us on many more road trips. In the meantime, I found this sign that somehow is very vile. I hope you can use it on the show. Your vile acolyte, Alan Cole. Alan, I think, is a bit of a regular on YouTube, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he found this sign, which is a translation for English of some, I think that's Chinese, but I'm not sure. Saving water, you are the best. Urinating into the pool, you are the best. Flushing timely, you are the best. Protecting public property, you are the best. Do you know what? I'm the best at everything.
I get the rest of it. What's the urinating into the pool? It's like, what's the deal? It's like, where's that coming from, dude?
Maybe they're trying to save water from flushing, so they just think it's better to urinate in the pool.
Love it. I've got to stop. I'm not going to say anything, but either way, if you decide to let one go at the local bars, you are the best. And that was the first one. That was from Alan, which is fantastic. And there was a follow-up message from another person.
Dear Lord Vile, I have discovered your magnificent segment and been watching all the old episodes. I haven't laughed as much in ages as I did when you shared the Vile Pantry, which was one we did on different food products from around the world. Yep. Here is a picture of a real menu you might like to use. Keep up the good work, from Joy. And the one that's really interesting there is the kebabs, which is just called needle disposal. So I don't know what's going on there. Lamb shish kebab is fine, grilled meatballs is fine, but needle disposal, someone's got the wrong end of a translator on that one.
It's obviously a very popular place in Richmond and Frankston
and possibly St Kilda.
Oh, geez. How unbelievable. Needle, it's like, yeah, and I like it actually, if you just read it in a basic Australian, it's copsis.
Well, you know what? Hasn't the Australian or the Victorian Parliament been trying to get kebab disposal and kebab galleries set up all over Melbourne?
I don't know. I just where you go. Absolutely love it. And of course, that then brings us back to heading back into the Vile Villa's kitchen. And of course, what does the Vile like to cook up? Is that right there, Mr. Aaron?
The Vile is a bit of a food connoisseur. And as you can see, for the first time in a year and a half, Babu Frick has actually got off the Vile's lap and has put on his chef's cap as well. And they're going to go through some of their favourite foods that they like to emulate in their kitchen. You can see it's quite a nice, spacious kitchen there, but I'm sure we're going to violate it, aren't we, Dags?
We are indeed. Now, for people who are the PC and keyboard warriors out there, just explain, before we get into the images, that we all know we're on the same page. What exactly are we looking at?
These are all real items on menus from around the world, and it's obvious these have gone through a translator somewhere and something's gone wrong with the translator. So they've either got the totally wrong description or a rude word in the place of a real word.
Yes, exactly right. So whether they use Google Translate or whatever else, it's not us. We're just highlighting what was shown. All right. So just be aware of that, guys. Don't get all like in a bit of a fluff over that. So there's some absolute classics here. I'm just going to show the full slides as is, even though part of me wants to sort of like reveal each one. But some of these, if you're going to go out eating food, kids, just some of these sort of take your fancy. What do you got there, Mr. Aaron?
Well, as you can see, in a it looks like a street venue there. You can buy pizza, sandwich, and bugger is sold here as well. But it's great because it's probably meant burger, but the burger is anus beef, lettuce, tomato, special GG sauce.
Classic good guys, classic burger, anus beef. What the hell is that?
Well, it's not very well known, but anus is the most delicious cut of the cow.
It does give me the shits, though. What can I say?
So
Oh my god! So
I'm
what's the one on the
presuming-
right hand side, bottom right hand side, dude?
Yeah. Okay, and then you've got your pork sandwiches, and you've got your chicken sandwich. But the one at the bottom there, you've got the one in the middle there, you've got bread, French fried, chicken Dijon, lettuce, bread, French friend. So
Gotcha.
you've got your French friend with your anus beef. Like that's a combination that you'd try at your local burger joint.
Yeah, so if you get a bit of ooh la la action, you get your you get your hot French baby. So there you go, jump on your buns and away we go. The anus, the anus bird of a bite of the back.
Well, I think that's meant to be Angus beef, isn't it?
Yeah, clearly. One letter. That's all it took was the one letter. And if you're going to miss a letter, why miss the G? But that is an absolute classic. And oh, Jesus, absolutely love it. And guess what, kids? We've only just started, so let's move on to something else.
Yeah, that Dags hasn't snorted for so long. I love the one at the top because you've got kumquat with lemon. Number 2 is just whatever. And then fresh berry tea. Like I'd almost be tempted for number 2 just to see what it's like. And then number 58 at the top there is German sexual harassment. Now I'd like a side of German sexual harassment, please. That's a really unusual one. I don't even know what the translation was originally meant to be with that. But we're talking about translation. They've obviously gone to Wikipedia because you've got stir-fried Wikipedia with pimentos, steam eggs with Wikipedia.
So you can read all about it later on.
Yeah. Then we've got some delicious shiitake with cabbage, which is mushroom and cabbage with sweet and sour sauce, pea sprout. But here's the best one. I can't find Google, but it's delicious.
I love it. That is grouse.
Well, the one under that is even mermaid in deep sea and McDonald's best friend.
Mermaid in deep sea.
Who knows?
Oh god. Oh god. Oh yeah, exactly right. Yeah, with the German sexual harassment, just don't mention the war.
Well, you started it. You invaded Poland.
How about that? I like that. I have to agree with that. Of all those options there, the old whatever up here, that's an absolute winner and a half, isn't it? Eh? So there you go. Stir-fried Wikipedia. I was like, what the hell? Oh, god damn it. So, yes. You are right. It is, hang on, sorry, wrong one. It is Ms. French fries. So the French fries are female. Go figure that. So,
yeah.
Unbelievable. You're right, Mark. Google, you've done it again. How good is that? What do you reckon, dude?
Well, you can't put the Ms. French fries on the German sexual harassment plate, can you?
No, exactly right. And imagine if like those the German sexual harassment meal was something that looked very, very phallic, like sausages and all the rest of it. You're just like, oh my god, where are you going with that? Now, this one I did laugh. Now, when Aaron sent through the images today, I had a good laugh at this one, and I cacked myself in this one. Right? I'm just going to jump in. Up here, ice cream in the ass. What the hell is that?
Well, it gives a whole new definition to what happens in the Mr. Whippy van, doesn't it?
Freshly squeezed.
Yeah, you don't want to go, you don't want to go and ask one of those double phones, do you?
Oh, it's just bad images on that one.
Oh yes, ice cream in the ass. One of the most popular, probably one of the popular things in the menu. Probably in Thailand.
Can you just walk up to the counter and say, "Can I have some ice cream in the ass, please?"
And then you get a German
flavor. It's got to be chocolate, obviously.
Then you get a German sexual harassment suit for even asking for that one.
Oh god, that's funny. Oh god, I can't even read the screen. Sorry, I'm laughing so much. And the other one, chicken and real chicken.
Yeah, what I really like is the real chicken is double the price of the obviously fake chicken. So I don't know what's going on there. And
Oh, God damn it. That is so funny. I'm never going to get out of that one. I was giving you.
then the
Oh,
one up the top there is just you and your family. So
oh, yeah. Oh,
you
God. That is an
and,
absolute classic, isn't it? Eh?
and
Oh,
it's
yeah. Wait, I didn't even notice that one before. Yes, you and your family. So there you go. One for the cannibals.
yeah,
So,
and your family is obviously spicy because it's got a little chili next to it.
oh, my goodness gracious me. Very good.
You get a little chili.
All right. So let's move on, shall we? Here we go.
Okay, and then we've got you've got 6 roasted husband.
So if you've been divorced 6 times, you know where the dudes have all ended up.
Yes. Well, if you've had the ice cream, look at the next one there. Our sweet ass. So I don't know what that would even be. And down the bottom, fries pulled out of a rotten child.
Hopefully, if he's a rotten child, they pull him out slowly.
The funniest thing about that, it looks like a plate of crab meat. It doesn't even look like fries.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, 6 roasted husbands. Jar Jar Gabor's probably having chowing down on that. Yeah, our sweet ass. Oh God, because the worst part is assorted gets shortened to ASS, and it doesn't always work. So, give me the sweet. It's the way you order it. It's like I'm hankering for some. This is where the German sexual harassment comes from. I'm hankering for some sweet ass.
Yeah. You order everything off the menu and you get in a harassment suit.
Fries pulled out of the rotten child. Oh, how the hell would they have translated it like that? So,
I don't know.
My goodness.
Oh well.
And the thing is, when you read that, you can't even work out what the real text was meant to be. So, oh goodness gracious, man! I love it.
You'd wonder if you're the restaurant owner. No one ever orders that dish. Who would order fries pulled out of a rotten child?
I just want to know how many kids have they got? It's like, what happens when one kid runs out? Give them the piff. Next one, let's go. That's an image that's going to stay with you. What can I say? So,
yeah.
Oh goodness gracious me! Absolutely love
it. When they finish their shift, they get rewarded with an ice cream, Dags.
Oh God, unbelievable. All right, now this one, this is clearly an interpretation, what do you call it, translation issue. This is an absolutely funny one. So there you go. If you're in for a bit of a stiff drink, I shouldn't say that, a stiff drink, you can't go past this.
You can grab me now. I love how it's got grab me now. Cock Zero, Cock Light, Sprite, and 100 plus assortment. But what I like, if you like an after dinner drink, you can get a whiskey and cock too.
Oh, down here, yeah.
But look at this other deal. It's fantastic. A free bottle of Bears or a can of Coke with every takeaway main meal. And then down the bottom, if you don't like your cock, you can always get a ginger ale with toxic water.
Oh yes. That's actually a very popular drink down in Chernobyl and down Russia way. So
yes.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, things go better with. Yeah, exactly right. Who would have thought ice cream and a chaser would go well together? Oh, sorry, that's the rice dish. Oh my God. Oh, it's hurting me, man. I tell you what. It was mentioned back up here. I need a defibrillator at this rate. I tell you what. Oh, you gotta love it, don't you? Hey, how good is that? Whiskey and cock. Oh my God. I just like. How do you choose between the Cock Zero, the Cock Light? Oh, dude.
I don't know. Dad. If I was you, I'd just try one of each cock.
Yeah, exactly right. Love it. All right, we're still plodding on.
Okay, here is baby cuttlefish dyed in its own juices with garlic. But what I really like is spicy crap. A nice plate of spicy crap always goes down pretty well, doesn't it? It's only $3.50 by the look of it. Well, 350 the one I don't get is this middle one, and this is a real menu on an Indian menu. Warm goat dung on a bed of salad. So I would be very, very surprised if anyone even ordered that to try and see what it was. Then we go boiled cabbage farmers. So I guess if you into cannibalism, like they're cabbage fed farmers.
Wow. When you said the warm goat dung, goat in sporting terms means greatest of all time. So if you find your greatest of all time sports star, maybe that's what you're having. So what do you reckon?
Greatest? No, it's the greatest of all time shit because it's goat dung.
There you go. So maybe it is someone who's not that very good at it. So unbelievable. How good is all that? Oh, jeepers creepers. So very, very cool.
On a bed of salad. This is an interesting one. The concept of head. I've been married so long, I don't even know what the concept of head is. Characteristics of mouth watering. So I guess that's a good thing. And many bandits. I guess that's what happened if you get caught stealing stuff.
Yep.
And then the last one there, potatoes kelp of burning flesh.
The thing is, when I saw the concept of head and you're looking at this thing up here and you go, yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. I like this one. Yeah, cabbage farmers, the other white meat. Oh, God.
Well, the thing is, lettuce farmers have got too expensive, so they've been using cabbage farmers instead.
Yes, I did hear that. Yes, I think in the US there's a bit of an issue with that. So the concept of head, absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, well, you like to finish your meal off with a crap stick, don't you? But here we go. Tomato salad, homos with meat, and chicken feet. And everybody loves the spicy, juicy.
Oh, God damn it. Where's that defibrillator? That is just
you only have this on special occasions, but deep fried baby.
Oh, you were there. Oh, God damn it. Oh, dude, you're killing me, man.
If that's wok fried or put in a deep pan.
Oh, I tell you what, that is absolutely so good. Oh, far out. Oh, dear. Oh, mate, make it stop. Where are we going with this?
Now, this one's a really weird one. You've got at the top, Alexander returns. Alexander returns with yogurt, returns on top of rice.
Good old Alexander, eh?
I know. I did wonder what that was all about. It's very small and hard to read, but we've got our first pizza there, and you can tell if it's an Asian pizza, you're going to get the real authentic Italian taste, but it's various and confused pizzas.
He does actually say that. Way up here, various and confused pizzas. So in other words, it doesn't know what it is. So,
and the last one down the bottom there in the middle, round cut Aborigine marinated shallow fried with Greek yogurt. That's why Ernie Dingo hasn't been on the TV for a long time. And when you want a nice hot cup of something when it's cold, you can't go past pissin' beef balls. So
I had to say that one earlier. Yes, it's a piece of beef ball.
Guaranteed 2 balls in every mug.
Oh, dude, you are absolutely killing me. Oh, jeepers creepers. I think that's it. What are you trying to tell me about all these particular things there, Mr. Aaron?
The Vile has been around the world and sampled many menus for us to bring home recipes to share, and he has well and truly violated all of them.
Oh, God damn it, dude. Oh, jeez Louise, I need a break after that. Oh, yes, I agree. Stop, please stop. Oh, goodness gracious me. Oh, gosh, I love it. We've been so tame for so long, you know. We thought after the children's books one from a couple of months ago, we thought, no, we need to go back to our depravity that we're famous for. So there you go. And I agree with you, Mr. Vile. Yum, yum, yum. Oh,
yeah, so hope everyone enjoyed that as much as Dags did.
Oh, God, tell you what, I still want the ice cream in the arse thing. It's just freaking fantastic.
Well, after the show, you can do whatever you want, mate.
Yes, very good. Mr. Thomas, yeah, one of the best vial files ever. Totally, yeah. Back on track, yeah. Exactly right. Oh, goodness. All right, we're running a fraction behind time, but yeah, we are going to get to some serious stuff very, very soon. And I've got to get myself back together because it's time for a little bit of this.
Ooh, baby, do you know that's
Hopefully I can still read the things. So what are we talking about tonight there, Mr. Aaron, regarding our eBay selection?
Well, I think it's a selection of Gerry Anderson stuff, isn't it?
Yes, it is indeed. So, as always, take a guess as to how much you reckon these items sold for. Don't look it up. Don't Google it. Just take a bit of a guess. Just a bit of mucking around. And what have we got first there, Mr. Aaron?
Well, this one is obviously one that Russell bought because he loves this show. This is an original supercar from the 60s. And this comes with box. This is actually a really rare toy in itself to find in good condition. And to find it with a box is quite unusual. So this is a really rare item here.
It's kind of funny because the way it's photographed, you think, how does the thing actually fit in the box? Because the box looks way smaller. So there you go.
Yeah.
Very good. All right, Ange, before we even saw the item, said $1. You can change that, Ange, if you want, now that we're back in business. Where are we? Jeffro, who's responsible for my little head. Hang on, my little head. That's just bad English, isn't it? Little head from over here.
Dad, just to cut in there. That was Jeffro. Huh? That was Jeffro's concept of head.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, we were very, very good. And he likes putting a hole in my head, that's for sure. Where are we? Colin has gone for $275. Thomas has gone for $875. Adzi has gone for $600. Gavin has gone for $438. Christy, hang on, Moneybag Sullivan has gone for $300. Christy's gone for 1 cent, so she's got absolutely no idea. And Rusky Babes, who definitely knows his stuff regarding this stuff, if that's bad English, is $385. Williams at $600. And violating the budgie, the original budgie supercar is the vial at $250. Very good stuff. So there you go. All right, original budgie supercar 272 vintage Gerry Anderson, early 1960s, comes with a box and everything, but it is used. Just be aware of that. How much you reckon it went for, kids? Well, I reckon it went for a whopping $600.
So
William, right on the money, son. Well done.
Ads as well. They're going to have to chop it in half. Two of them got
they are indeed. You get to chop your budgie in half. So well done, guys. Good work.
Yeah.
You are right. Yes, perfect for budgie smugglers. That's exactly what it's good for. So very, very cool. All right, next item. What have we got there, Mr. Aaron?
So this is a classic item. It isn't an old vintage one, but it's still one of the most popular Thunderbird toys ever created. This is the original Matchbox Tracy Island. So this was a talking playset that came with all the vehicles. You get to do all the cool stuff that they did in the show. You've got the Thunderbird one that comes out of the pool, and you've got the palm trees that come down in front of the villa that Thunderbird 2 comes out of. Lots of play ability for kids and a really nice item.
Very, very cool. Tracy Island. And if you find that this version where the trees don't come down, just snap them. They'll come down soon enough. And Jeffro, who owns the last item, said that he's feeling rich, which is particularly cool. All right, so Tracy Island, how much are you going to buy an island for? An island for $200 for Colin. Angie is at 1,001. Moneybag Sullivan has said $7.50. Chrissy's $2.50. Jeffro is at $185. Gavin is at $287.90. Rusky Babes is at $300. Thomas is at $1,100. Rebecca, good to see Rebecca joining the show. $1,092. William is at $1,000. Jonathan has said $175. Good to see Jonathan joining the show. Very, very good. You had one of these in the store, didn't you? Not in the box, but loose, yeah?
We've got one in the box at the moment for $299.
Rusky Babes has chucked in a joke. What's brown and green and floats on blue water? I'll let you answer that one. I know it's green and steaming and comes out the back of cows, and that would be the Phillip Island ferry. There you go. Violating Tracy Island is the vial at $900. Mark has said 4,300. Hang on. Is that 54,000, or did you miss the dollar sign there, Mr. Mark?
No, he's doing a joke. It's 54321.
Very good. Yes, I did miss it. I'm too busy looking at the numbers. Adzi has said 250. $150. So there you go. Very, very cool. All right. Thunderbirds Tracy Island Matchbox Electronic Play Set. Brand new. How good is that? Which is particularly cool. How much do you reckon it went for, kids? It went for a whopping, you can almost buy a real island out in the Pacific Ocean for this. It went for a whopping $350.
Yeah, so I have one in the shop that has been opened for $299. It is a very cool toy.
Good stuff. Rusky Babes is $50 short, but he's heading there. I think you may have it, Rusky Babes. So there you go. Very, very cool. Yeah, Rusky, I think you just chuck in an extra $50 and you're good to go. All of a sudden, you own an island, even if it's not that rare. So yay team.
It is
I love it,
rare,
Gavin.
though.
Not much
It's
love
sort of-
on this island. And
sort of
anybody's watching
criminal.
Beauty and the Geek at the moment, hopefully they're not because they're watching us.
Well, that would
It's-
be the pretty cool follow up. You know, when after the series where they go on to Love Island, the Beauty and the Geek Island is Tracy Island from Thunderbirds.
Oh, how good is that? The beauties wouldn't have any idea what the reference is, but at least
You know what
50% of the cast will get it right. So there you
You
go.
know what you do? You put all the beauties in the swimming pool, and then you cause an emergency for Thunderbird 1 to come up and watch them all run away screaming.
Yeah, you know what the worst part is? All your geeks will be like losing their load over this, while all the beauties be going, what? Based on how the show's designed. So yes. very,
Talking
very
of
cool.
beauties, we have Lady Penelope in Fab 1.
Good stuff. Oh, I thought you were going to say something
Oh,
about
sorry. So we've got Lady Penelope in Fab 1. This is the 40th anniversary edition, limited to 5,000 pieces. So if you like your limited edition stuff, every one of these was numbered. This is a Corgi. Corgi and Dinky Toys have done most of the, well, that's a lie. Matchbox has as well, have done a lot of the Thunderbirds toys over the years. So this is quite a desirable item. It is one of those cars that never goes out of fashion.
Actually, that would make a good number plate, FAB 5000. So there you go. You can't get in Victoria 7 digits, but interstate you could. So very, very good. Oh, Christy's not going for it. 1 cent. You not working for her. Doesn't like the old pink rolls, but there you go. All right, Ange said $62. Adzi has said 175. Collins at 255. Rebecca has said 258. Good old Jonathan is at 160. Thomas is at 450. Rusky Babes is at 150. William is at 250, which is particularly cool. The pink Rolls Royce with a shitload of wheels on it. What was the benefit of having 4 steering wheels is anybody's guess. Moneybag Sullivan is at $215. And violating the old Fab 1 is the Vile, as he often should, is the Vile at $500, which is particularly cool. A limited edition of 5,000 units. That's before they do Series 2 of another 5,000. Adzi has changed it to 300. Hope you didn't look that up and you're not cheating there, Ads. And Gavin has said 580. All right, how much you reckon it went for, kids? Corgi, Gerry Anderson Thunderbirds, 40th anniversary, limited a number of 5,000. It went for a whopping 67 bucks.
I thought that was a good buy if you won that one. I thought that was well worth it, actually.
Ange is the closest. He even gets he's got to just cough up an extra $5. So there you go, dude. So how good is that?
Yeah, that was a good guess, Ange. Like all those random numbers finally paid up for you.
Yes, exactly right. So, because I was thinking everybody else had bid up so high, I thought, what are the chances that maybe even Christy got it for 1 cent? But it was not to be. All right, very, very cool. Next item. Oh, here we go.
So this is a Gerry Anderson Thunderbirds original television soundtrack, and it's a 4 CD set. It's out of print. OOP means out of print, and it is sealed, so it's brand new. I'm sure Jethro would probably have this, wouldn't he?
I would assume so. He's actually watching, so he could say so. It's very interesting because sound CDs, obviously not that long ago, they were everywhere, and now all of a sudden they're becoming a rare item as LPs come on back. So, yes, it's. I don't know what it's CDs as a general rule. I don't think they're collectible. You probably because you can obviously use them and play them, and there's no damaging the item. So
yeah.
I don't know. It's a bit of a tough one, actually. So, but out of print. So there you go. But I certainly like the sound of that. Boom tish. All right. Where are we? I think Ange is at 152, if I'm reading that right. Colin has gone for 50. Rusky Babes is at 50. Moneybag Sullivan is at 250. Adzi is at 75. Thomas is at 600. Rebecca's at 45. Jonathan is at 200. There you go. Jeffro has said he doesn't have it, but he did put a bid in. So obviously it was too expensive for him. So there you go. There's a bit of a clue for you fans. William said 175 and Gavin has gone for 95. And violating the CD box set as one should is the vial at $300. So there you go. Yes, you're probably getting it for the extra music rather than the actual collectability of the item itself. But I don't know. It's up to the individual. I guess it looks like it sort of folds open and looks pretty groovy. So
Yeah.
there you go. Out of print, 4 CDs, out of print, yay team. All right, so how much do you reckon it went for, kids? So hang on, Rusky. What's everybody changed their bids for? Changes to 150. Man, this isn't a, this is, you got to put your bid in it and be committed to it. All right, so Gerry Anderson's Thunderbirds original television series soundtrack, 4 CDs, out of print, sealed. How much do you reckon it went for? It went for a whopping $409. What's the
And
deal,
it's
Mr.
that.
Aaron?
It's probably that $9 that stuffed Jeffro. He probably put in a bid of 400.
Or 408. Yeah, 409 is a bit of a funny one, isn't it? Eh? So,
It is, isn't it?
Anything you want to say about this?
Surprised me because CDs, like you were saying, don't seem to be as collectible as vinyl. But obviously, this is an in-demand one of an out-of-print CD from a popular franchise. So there you go, $409 for that set.
I think Thomas has got this because a couple of people. Oh, hang on. So hang on. I think this is Gavin has got it. Hang on. Is this for the previous item? I'm trying to. Hang on. I'm sorry, Gavin. Is that for the previous one or the current one? I think you already had your.
One.
No, that was from the current. Yep, that was for the previous item. Sorry, Gavin.
Yeah.
You just lost it. And I think we're back to Thomas again.
Thomas, yeah.
Yes. Very good. Well done. You actually get a couple of $100 back. So there you go. How good's that?
Yeah. You spilled all your drink, but you got some CDs.
Absolutely love it, which is particularly groovy. Oh, hang on. Sorry, you are right. I think the vial has this. Oh, I'm confused with the numbers because of the $9 has thrown me off. So it's $110 extra, whereas Thomas, yeah, sorry, Miss Thomas, you had it and lost it, son. Yes, the vial gets it because he only has to cough up an extra $110. So I failed high school maths, kids, and I'm proud of it. So,
oh no, Thomas, no drink and no CDs.
Yes, exactly right. And as he said, he lost it years ago. I love the sound of that. Anyway, it went to the vial. So the vial is going to be violating the box set. And we're now talking to ourselves. So who's this? It must be Jeffro. Someone's actually writing in under our own name. So, yes, very, very groovy. Fantasy Club did sell it for $60. Oh, there you go, $60. Oh, chucking them away. All right, last item. Check it out.
Well, this is an unusual one. This is a 1970s Dinky Toys Gerry Anderson Captain Scarlet maximum security vehicle. So it is open in really nice condition. Usually they're all chipped up. This is an original 70s one. We haven't done Captain Scarlet yet, but we're going to get round to having a look at it soon.
Very good. All right, so we've gone from all the mint and box stuff to something that has had a bit of a hard day at the office. So 1970s, would it hold its value or not? That is a very good question. And there are sites available where people actually do restore dinky toys and corgi cars and all the rest of it. And they look very schmick. I mean, they don't hold their value effectively because they've got new parts on them, but they do look quite cool. Angie's at 470. What?
It's got 14 bids on too, so there was a bit of interest in this one.
Oh, yes. Okay, very cool. Andrew's at 475. Colin's at 25. Where are we? Gavin's at 34. Jonathan 45. Adzi 125. Jeffrey, who loves this sort of stuff, at 222. A good old violating, good old Captain Scarlet is a vial at 65. Rusky Babs is at 275. Rebecca's 923. Thomas is at 25. Christie's at 55 cents. Moneybag Sullivan's at 375. William is at 100, and he has not put a bid in. All show is the Greg King at $2. He's chucking in his $2. That's $1 for each half of the car. Very, very cool. 14 bids. What do you reckon? 1970s Dinky Toys, Gerry Anderson, Captain Scarlet, maximum security vehicle model. It has had a hard day at the office. What do you reckon, kids? How much you reckon it went for? It went for a whopping $32.
So does Thomas get that one, or someone beat him again?
No, Jonathan's at 45. Hang on. Thomas, yeah, I think Thomas is there because he's only got to cough up $7.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to say about this while I'm looking? Hang on. And Colin's got it at 25 as well. So between the two of you, you get one half each. The car's already got to split down the middle.
Half a maximum security vehicle each.
Yes, there you go. So how good is that? Very, very cool.
I thought that was reasonably priced, but probably you wouldn't pay much more than that for one in that condition.
Good stuff. What do you reckon of that, kids? Now, hang on, I'm just going to press a couple of buttons. And so, yes, there's a lot of stuff going on, which is particularly cool. Now, before we get on to our main presentation, I'm obliged. As boring as this is, I've got to chuck it in there. If you want to talk to us, get on our socials. You've got the YouTube site and obviously on Facebook, most of us at the moment. And, of course, you've got Twitter and Instagram. Tell us your thoughts about this show and whether Aaron is really, really cool and I really, really suck. So get your thoughts and views and opinions out there. And we may even actually read some of the comments on the show.
And even if you don't watch us on YouTube, find our station, subscribe, like, because it means we get shared around. And so rather than 4 people watching it each week, we might get 8 people watching it each week. Wouldn't that be fantastic, Dags?
Yeah, that's the 4 people watching it twice. So there you go. Yes, Rusky Babes, the beer break. I love it. Very, very cool. I love it, FAB fellas. Good stuff. All right, so now people have been hankering for this one for Yonkensbergs. We've been talking about the old Gerry Anderson, Mr. Aaron. Is that right? Oh, I forgot to do rescale of the picture. Give me a second. So what are we talking about tonight, Mr. Aaron?
So this is the third part of our in-depth look into the collectibles based on Gerry Anderson shows, and a general talk about Gerry Anderson shows as well. What we love, what we remember growing up, and the various collectibles associated. And this week we have a very special one, which probably would be Gerry Anderson's most popular show.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thunderbirds are go.
And doesn't that look fantastic in HD remastered?
Yeah, very groovy, I've got to say. They've done excellent work with it too. So we talked about the old Thunderbirds, Mr. Aaron. How good is this? People have been hankering for this one for ages.
Yeah, so Thunderbirds is probably the one that most people in Australia remember, mainly because Channel 9 or Channel 7 showed it for 40 years straight at 6 a.m. on a Saturday morning as the opening of the station. So people often, as kids, wait for the station to open, and it was Thunderbirds. And because there wasn't much else on at the time, everyone has seen at least a couple of episodes.
It's kind of funny because I worked on the view that, there's always, they say there's two types of people: those who like Ford, those who like Holden, those who like Star Wars, like Star Trek. And I always worked on the view that there's 2 types of kids: those who got up at 6 in the morning to watch Thunderbirds, and those who slept in until 10 in the morning because they couldn't give a shit. And I was the latter. So no way in the world was I going to be getting up at 6 in the morning to watch Thunderbirds. That just didn't happen.
I was up every morning at that time, and I was always square-eyed. And I do remember when I was really young, I didn't watch Thunderbirds. I watched Rupert the Bear. I don't know if you'd remember that. It was another puppet show that was on the same time as Thunderbirds. And then I got a little bit older, and we're talking like 4 or 5, and then jumped over to Thunderbirds, and thought that was fantastic.
Well, the funny thing is, because I knew it was on, because I look at the TV guide. Now, if you remember, those who got really good memories, you always had the TV guide at the back of the newspaper, right? The Saturday and the Sunday. And you always had a look at Saturday morning, and as you said, Thunderbirds was there. And, of course, I never watched it because I was sleeping in until 10 in the morning. But it was like, as you said, years and years and years. They're thinking, how many seasons of this show are? It just went on forever. And I didn't realize until I was an adult, they just kept replaying them. They get to the end of the season and go back to the start. I was like, freaking hell, how good's that?
Now, it is one of those shows that is almost timeless because it was, I guess, a science fiction action-adventure show at the time. It was a family-orientated show with brothers. It was one that it's a very early show to have such a strong female character as Lady Penelope. Yep. It also has fantastic production values because they were co-funded for America, which is why the Thunderbirds accents are this sort of weird mid-Atlantic UK, and you've got Parker who talks in the very what American consider a lower class sort of accent. But we're going to go into the characters and talk about what we remember and the setup for Thunderbirds. Did you watch it or you never watched it?
Oh, yeah, I did. I obviously did get to see it later on, but I wasn't watching it as a kid. I watched it as an adult. And, I expect Rusky Babes and his fun factoids to go completely bananas. And you are right, it was geared towards an American audience, but to the best of my knowledge, I don't think it got sold in the US because, was it Solomon Lou, is that the guy's name? Kept up on the price and all the, in the end, all the... Huh?
Lou Grade, I think it was.
Lou Grade. Yeah, there was a Lou in there somewhere. It kept up on the price, and in the end, all the stations just bailed on it. So it was designed for an American market, and of course, it didn't get sold, and that's the reason why it cancelled ahead of its time, as I understand it. But Rusty Babes on that.
Boy, did it do well in England. So
Oh yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
and obviously Australia as well. Now Thunderbirds, I don't know if they did this by design or it was just a happy accident, but there's so much in Thunderbirds that makes a successful show, especially a kids one. You've got different characters that are all heroic but different, so kids can pick their favorite. But
Mm.
then you've got different vehicles that every one of them is fantastic, but everyone is different. So kids can pick their favorite, and it goes right down to what's your favorite color? Green. You like Thunderbird too. So it's
Yeah.
got an amazing ability to be able to capture kids in different ways. If you like a good story, they're really well written. If you like action and adventure, they've got 60s James Bond level special effects of blowing up and spaceships and things like that. So it is an amazing show for the time, and it's obvious from when we've been leading up, when you look at Stingray and Fireball XL5 and some of the other stuff, they really had honed all of the techniques they were using right through to the voice artists. They had like an in-house selection, the people that were doing the music, the people that were doing the effects, and it was almost a perfect storm of creativity when Thunderbirds came along.
Yeah, it's interesting because I didn't realize this, but it was actually set 100 years after when the show was made. So it's in like another 30 years from now, 2060, I think it is, or 2060, 60, 70, whichever else. And of course, it started off as the pilot was a half-hour series. Then Lou Grade saw it and said, mate, boost it up to an hour. And of course, they were able to do a lot more with the characters than they could in the previous shows that they made with Gerry Anderson. So I think the extra length gave it a good chance to sort of like to flesh out a lot of the stuff that was going on regarding the characters and the situations and the missions that the guys had to look after. And of course, that just made the show even more popular. So yeah, worked out really well.
It was popular enough that it got 2 cinematic releases and was even released around the world in unusual places and did well in Japan and places like that because of the cinema releases of some of the the 2 60s ones. Interestingly enough, I've only doing research for this, I've seen Thunderbirds ago. There's a second movie, Thunderbird 6, that I don't think I've even seen.
Okay. Oh, there you go. I like this one. Rusky Babes has said Thunderbirds were sometimes the only sci-fi on TV that week. That doesn't surprise me at all. And good old Jeffro's gotten into the whole fun factoids, but without the only Channel 9 to actually buy the perpetual screening rights of the show for a big one-off price. Well, they got their money's worth out of it because they just replayed it for years and years and years. I don't even know if it's even still on at 6 in the morning on Saturdays. Wouldn't surprise me.
It isn't. It hasn't been on for a while. Once in a while, they bring it back. But the interesting thing is, in England, they had very, very strict rights on repeating things. And so they would have this thing where you could repeat something in the first 2 years or 3 years of when it was made. But then after that, you pretty much had to pay everyone involved again because the unions had such a good deal that they didn't want to put people out of business by TV shows playing repeats. And the thing this meant is not a lot of shows were repeated like we have here. Thunderbirds came back and was shown in 1992. And it was almost instantly as popular again with the next generation of kids as it was in the 60s. And as Russ was saying, that Matchbox stuff is from the 90s. It was so big that Christmas, Tracy Island was the most requested toy from kids in the UK. This is in the 90s. And it was like a Tickle Me Elmo thing where it sold out instantly, and Matchbox massively underestimated how many they'd need. There was fights, there was queues, and no one could get their hands on one. And this is, 30 years after the franchise finished. So, and then it happened again about 10 years later. They repeated it again. So it is a phenomenal, timeless show. And it's interesting. It's one of the few Gerry Anderson shows that can be repeated because Thunderbirds is about saving people, and you don't see many people getting killed. Not by, shooting and stuff like that. All the other Gerry Anderson shows, I mean, Captain Scarlet, they can't even show the opening titles because so many people get machine gunned down. So it is one of those timeless shows that, holds a special place in my heart. Even though I wouldn't say a huge Thunderbirds fan, I do love the concept of the show and have watched it all a number of times.
I think one of the cleverest things that they come up with, and you sort of did touch on it, is you had multiple characters, right? Which is great. And a lot of shows have multiple characters, but you had multiple bits of hardware as well. So unlike, say, Supercar and Stingray, where there's just one piece of hardware, the car or the submarine, this had everything, the ships everywhere. And already here, William has said like Thunderbird 2 was his thing. William didn't like Thunderbird 4. But the fact that there was a range to play with, It's like, well, if I don't like that, I'm going to go with that. And there's something for everybody. And of course, that's where we come to here. I mean, for myself personally, I love Thunderbird 4. I thought it was a fantastic design. But because all the ships were so radically different, if you didn't like one, you went for the other. And yeah, clearly Thunderbird 2 was always going to be the popular one. But yeah, different characters, different bits of hardware. And that doesn't even include the car, like the Fab 1 Rolls Royce and whatever else. It's actually ingenious when you sit and think about it. There's something for everyone. And as you said, you've even got like strong male characters and female characters. And it's like, that's a recipe for success right there.
Well, the thing as a kid that I remember is Thunderbird 2 was my favorite because my favorite color is green. And, you know, they would load the cargo bay of Thunderbird 2 with mission, whatever the mission was. And as a kid, I wasn't sure. And so, oh my goodness, it's the mole this week, which wasn't, you know, you didn't see as much. And that would be exciting as a kid. Now these days, I guess, where kids are playing video games from when they're 3 years old, it isn't quite as exciting or the same. But it was a great concept for the show.
I think the other thing that worked well, especially for kids, is you see Tracy Island and you got the beautiful like mansion and the palm trees and the water, and you're thinking, oh, what would you give to go there? How good would it be? It's like a resort, right? It's like, how grouse would that be? And maybe not so much for adults, but kids would just imagine being in that scenario. And there was a comment here, like I showed a moment ago, that Thomas said that, him and his brother would just watch it. Right, just glued to the screen, and that's what would captivate you and bring you in. Because you're thinking, oh, what would it take to be a part of that? Imagine actually being there, because of the color, it really looked spectacular, and it's almost like a real life holiday resort. So, particularly cool.
Amazing concepts, because it really was one of those goodies shows. Anything, anywhere, anytime. They could go anywhere in the world, in space, to Mars, all over the place. You didn't know which of the brothers and which of the ships would be used the most in each episode. So if you had a favorite one and that one came up, that episode is instantly better for you. If you're a girl or you had a sister, they could watch it with you because of Lady Penelope. And as we were saying earlier, she was not treated dumb. In fact, she was like just as smart as the brothers and a spy, and often the one that saved everyone in the episode as well.
If I understand it correctly, I think the term Thunderbirds was actually from Gerry Anderson's brother or something. He was based in the US, and he actually made a reference to some road or a highway called Thunderbird something or other, and he got the name from that, because originally the show was going to be called International Rescue, if I'm not mistaken. And so, you can almost ironically thank the Americans for naming a show that they themselves didn't actually sort of buy, which is kind of funny. Gavin made a point of saying when he was young, the eyes used to scare me. Well, they're still puppets no matter what. And of course, the whole thing with the puppets is they had a lot of animatronics in their head. So the body scale was a bit out of whack, with the hands were bigger than the rest of the torso, and they had a lot of scale related issues. But that still made for some very memorable characters. And one thing I didn't even realize until I saw those slides, that Tintin had a surname. I wasn't even aware of that. I just knew her as Tintin. So,
yes. And Tintin had a surname, and that was also the name they called her father, which I don't think I've got a picture here of. But he was he the Hood's half brother? Was the plot thing in it? But I always thought that was great. It was one of those things where, as a kid, it's almost like a pantomime where you're going, look behind you, because the Hood would be controlling the other guy. And it was one of those things that was fantastic. And, you know, some of the concepts seem a bit trite now, where you'd have a whole episode on the Hood trying to disable the machine that stopped people being able to photograph the Thunderbirds, because he wanted to take pictures of them so he could copy them, that kind of thing. But as a kid, that was like magical.
Two things. So obviously, as a young dude, you go, "Oh, Lady Penelope's way too old for me." But Tintin was definitely the babe of the show, right? So I think when she appeared on screen and spoke, it's like, oh yeah, she's definitely the hottie of the group. And of course, the irony being that we're talking about brains here. Got the big ass glasses, and of course, Beauty and the Geek's on TV tonight, so he'd be a perfect fit for that. But I can't imagine him with a nicely cropped hairdo and really groovy clothes. But so there was absolutely something for everybody, and I think it obviously was massively successful, which is particularly cool. What do you reckon?
And the other thing
I do like this comment from William. I agree with you. Thunderbird 5. Yeah, it's like that sucked. They just left him up there. It's like, what would you do?
I don't know. A lot of time to do the crossword, really, wouldn't there?
Yeah, and you're right. Yeah, he was the Hood's half brother, as mentioned. Yeah, exactly right. Do the crossword, exactly right. But we're here to also yap on a bit about the collectibles, and not just the collectibles, but of course the promotion for the show, and got old TV 21. We'll kick it off with.
Just one more thing the show did, which was unusual. In the opening credits, they listed all the characters like they were real people and real stars, which is one of those things that creates this sort of world for kids. And we can see that in the merchandising where they treat Thunderbirds like it's real. And you have all these, if we go back, to the first slide, we're looking at my favorite comics, which are TV21 comics. Sorry, the first merchandise slide, the comics one.
Yep.
Where all of the stories were headlines, like they were real news. Stand by for action, and it was like Thunderbird 3 missing. They weren't like your standard comic book. We've mentioned this before because they did a lot of the Gerry Anderson stuff and some Doctor Who as well. But they treated, it was like a newspaper-sized comic, and they treated kids like they were getting a comic book. And the ingenious thing is the date on them were 100 years in the future. So it was like you were getting, I guess, this really colourful, amazing newspaper from the future with all your favourite TV shows in different adventures, but they treated it very real. And you can see from the art down the bottom there, it's a little bit small. It's not like your standard Marvel and DC comic, which is very sort of action hero and exaggerated. It's a more, painterly artwork than you got in the American comics. And I think that makes these comics absolutely classic. And these are very coveted by collectors because they were sort of newsprint size. They're very hard to get in good condition because everyone folded them in half. So instantly 90% of them were sort of not mint even when they were first bought.
I tend to agree with you, like you said, about how they produced it as if like it was a real thing. And I remember as when I did see it, you did look at the show and you go, it's, I mean, you obviously knew it wasn't real, but you'd be sitting there thinking, how the hell did they do that? And of course, you weren't aware that with the marionettes, they're painting the strings out and all the rest of it, and how they had the backgrounds whizzing around the ships to give them movement and all sort of thing. But at the time, you're thinking, this is freaking, your brain just couldn't work it out. And I think that's the ingenious part of it. And I know that when they were producing the show, because originally when it was starting off as a half-hour show, they're doing 2 units at exactly the same time. So one's filming the A story, the other's doing the B story, episode 1, episode 2. Then they had to combine them to do the hour-long shows. And obviously it took them a couple of weeks, if I'm not mistaken, to actually get an episode out. But you can imagine just being a part of that entire creative team, putting this stuff together. I mean, sure, there'd be long hours and it'd be a bit of hard work. And of course, as I said, they had to meticulously paint out the lines or the strings to match the background. Oh, it'd be a pain in the ass to do. But the end result would have been an absolute mind spin. So you can understand when Lou Graves saw the pilot episode and go, oh, that is just grouse. I mean, and that would have been long before we'd seen anything else. So it's like for us, it was like decades ago, whereas them, it was brand spanking new. That would have been an absolute trip out. So
as a kid, it was so real to me. And I mean, this is when I'm pretty young. There are stories where, the brakes on trains go and they're trying to stop it, or a plane can't land because the undercarriage is gone. And it was so tense as to whether they were going to manage it and get it in position and stop it. As a kid, I had to walk out of the room and look through the crack in the door to see if they'd actually done it, or all the people were going to die. And that's a pretty good way to influence, to be that tense and that immersed in the storyline that kids treat it like that.
Yeah, and I agree with what you said. I mean, because they did the previous shows that led up to this, that was probably good. If they had started with Thunderbirds in the 50s, it probably wouldn't have worked as well. They needed the build-up time to get used to the technology and the processes, and then just go all out and go, yep, we're really cooking on gas regarding the production design and the quality of it, which is kind of cool. Now, I'll catch you off, and we'll talk about TV21s. We're still going to talk about TV21s, so I'll get it back to you, sir.
Yep. So Thunderbirds, it's interesting. TV21 launched with Stingray as its head comic. Thunderbirds was not the front page as much as some of the other shows, but it was definitely the lasting comic that stayed with TV21 all the way through its different iterations. So TV21 started out TV Century 21 comics, and then it went to Captain Scarlet and TV21, and then it eventually went into Countdown and other things. And I think it diminished with each change because it lost its size and it lost the seriousness. The art was always good in the British comics, but Thunderbirds was one of those that was all the way through. Thunderbirds only ran for a couple of years, but the comics and the annuals and stuff like that went way into the 70s because of its popularity.
Yeah, you got to thank the Lord for reruns, don't you? Hey, so there you go.
Yeah, and so right from the start, I think merchandisers knew that Gerry Anderson produced a quality product that struck a chord with kids. So right from the very start, there was a lot of merchandise for Thunderbirds. And just telling everyone now, this is a 2-part one because there is so much merchandise. We couldn't cover it all off in one night. So these are some of the early paperbacks, and I collected these when I was growing up. They were available in Australia because Thunderbirds was such a big show here. I mean, it was a niche show, but it was here, free advertising on Channel 9 for 30 years. The merchandise here does pretty well. Probably outside of England, Australia is where Thunderbirds is the most popular. So these are the Armada paperbacks, and Armada used to get licensed for different TV shows. So they did a lot of the Gerry Anderson stuff, and they also did Doctor Who and some other ones. They're great because I love the artwork on them. They're sort of that really evocative stuff from the era. Half of them are artwork, half of them are stills from the show. And you can imagine if you're a kid and you can't get videos because it's pre-videos and you can't get anything else, having the books that have such amazing artwork and are so colourful and photos from the show are just fantastic.
You said about how outside England, Thunderbirds is probably the most popular here, and that clearly has to do with the multiple reruns decade after decade. If they just had a run up for 1 or 2 years and then stopped, a whole generation, maybe even 2 generations of people would never have seen it or heard about it. So, it was just, it's long lost in the ethos of time. So, good old Channel 9, they've brought up the entire. Most people don't even really think of it this way, but they brought up an entire generation of fans because of the fact they just kept showing it every morning at 6 a.m.
There are some things that from our era, I probably think you'd agree. Doctor Who on the ABC and The Goodies on the ABC and Thunderbirds on Channel 9 and Lost in Space on Channel O. They were all the things that seemed to just be repeated ad nauseum that sort of seeped into the psyche of people who watched a lot of television.
And it seeped in there, you're right, seeped into the psyche and not even really consciously aware of it until we bring it up in a discussion. So I used to watch that 6 a.m. Speaking of 6 a.m, Collins asked if you knew what time it was being shown in the UK. Do you have any ideas?
I think it was a Saturday night show, from what I remember. I didn't look that up, but I think it was one of the sort of premiere shows. It wasn't shunted onto children's television.
So that's the funny thing, isn't it? It's one of the things you don't really. The psychology of a TV show. Some shows are destined to be at certain times. So you're saying, as an example, if Thunderbirds was shown at night, it wouldn't work. It's not a nighttime thing. It's a daytime thing. Just like horror shows are a nighttime thing, not a daytime thing, right? Everything. Some shows have a place where they just need to be shown. Yeah. And Thunderbirds, when you think about it early in the morning for kids when they wake up, it's the first thing they see when they wake up. It's just, that is a cocktail of just ingeniousness to say, yes, this is how it's going to impact them for their lives. You put it in the middle of the afternoon, it doesn't work. Cartoons work well in the afternoon. But, I think Thunderbirds being in the morning that was where it was always destined to be. And as a consequence, it was massively successful. So,
and Russell's put up a fact there. Originally, it was shown here at 7:30 p.m. as well. And then they changed it. And I think probably changing it to the kids' time slot is what really made it here, because it means every kid grew up with it or at least knew it and watched it. Thunderbirds was also popular in Japan. And there's a whole lot of Japanese merchandise that we'll look at it not this week, because it was big there and took off in a way, because I think Japanese fans liked the vehicles, and I guess it had being puppets, you could voice it and it'd be fine,
Speaking of puppets and voicing things, so we all know that Gerry Anderson was heavily involved with it. You always wonder, what was the deal with Sylvia Anderson? How did she get into the show? Well, as it turns out, I mean, if you ever wanted to see roughly what she looked like and definitely what she sounded like, you had to go for Lady Penelope, because it was modelled on her. So there you go.
Now, this is what I found interesting while researching this. I do remember the Lady Penelope books and annuals and records. I did not know that Lady Penelope was as big as she was because of Thunderbirds. And you can see the evolution there, where the original puppet look of Lady Penelope is on the first couple of books and annuals, but she spread beyond that to where you see that Penelope one down the bottom, and it doesn't look like a marionette anymore at all. And it sort of broke into the mainstream, where she got her own fans through this, who were the little girls who grew up with it. And she had a life beyond the show, where the Lady Penelope annual changed into the Penelope annual, and it had the Thunderbirds in it for a couple of years, and then it just went to a full-on adventure annual for girls. So Gerry Anderson was quite groundbreaking at that, and I guess Sylvia Anderson can be applauded for that as well, for the characterization she did with Lady Penelope, which is one of the classic British characters ever.
Yep, totally agree. Reminds you of Jar Jar Gabor. Yeah, I can sort of see that actually. And you're right. Lady Penelope was a cool lady, and she was a lady, not a bird or a chick or anything like none of those derogatory terms. She was very sophisticated, and it came across really, really well. Put her in the vault in the roles, and yep, that's my kind of gal, as they would say. So, very, very cool.
Yeah, and so here are some of the earlier Thunderbirds annuals, and you can see they went right into the 70s, and you had combined Thunderbirds and Captain Scarlet annuals, which is a theme that we'll see probably more when we look at Captain Scarlet, how the two shows were sort of tag teamed together a lot. And you can see down the bottom there as well, the Thunderbirds annuals went into the 70s, and the Lady Penelope annuals went into the 70s. And then on that last one there with the little girl with the rabbit, there's very little to do with Thunderbirds at all on that cover, apart from the name Penelope. So I thought that was unusual that it had a life outside of Thunderbirds, which was so big and so popular.
You'd almost think this is a different character because the hair color is different too. So yeah, unusual. Very, very cool.
And as you can see, what I was saying about it came back and there were revivals. Well, it came back in the early 90s, and the annuals came back and all the merchandising came back. So it just shows you the power of repeats, but more importantly, probably having not that at that stage, not having them where you could download them and see them on YouTube. So it caught a total new audience, probably with kids who had grown up with it, wanted to share it with their children, and their children loved it as well. But it happened twice, because you can see there's a couple of annuals from the 90s, and then they started rescreening it in 2000, and they got another 6 years of annuals out of it. So it is one of those shows that really surprises me how many times it's had revivals and how loved it is by different generations. And we're not going to look at it, but there's the Weta Workshop one now, which is the CGI one, and it is still popular among kids. I don't think it's as popular as the original, but it shows the concept is very timeless.
Yeah, it just it slips under the radar, doesn't it? It just rolls along quietly in the background, and everybody knows it. Everybody recognizes it. And one of the things that people do recognize, of course, is the music. I'm going to just pop this one up. I mean, you must have spent half an hour typing this out. It's going to take up half the screen. Oh, look at that. There we go. There's a fun factoid about Sylvia Anderson. So there you go, about his history. And yes, and I do concede that, yes, if Gerry had done the shows by himself, there would have been definitely an element of their success that would have been missing. So having her on board was definitely the way to go. So when she left, yes, there would have been a significant impact to the quality of the material that Gerry was producing. So there you go.
So we've just watched the opening titles for Thunderbirds with the music, and the music became incredibly popular. I wonder if Russell knows this. At the end of that, you saw something that was about to get blown up on the titles. I wonder if he knows what they actually blew up on the titles from Thunderbirds. We'll come back to that. So here you can see, this is one of the things that surprises me as well. Thunderbirds was massively, massively popular as records and music would go, probably from British shows. It is probably the most popular show that wasn't a musical that has gone on to spin out so many records and versions of the themes and stories. Cliff Richards was even in it, and you can see Cliff Richards, they called him Cliff Richards Jr., was built, and the entire band, the Shadows, were built as marionettes, and they performed songs on one of the Thunderbirds movies. Thunderbirds Go, and it was another song they did in Thunderbird 6, which is just crazy to think that it was that popular that you would attract the stars. I have seen the Beatles talk about Thunderbirds, and other famous people talk about Thunderbirds. I guess it is one of those British institutions, but I did not realize how many vinyl releases there were for the Thunderbird series.
Yeah, we've got a fair bit to show you actually, and I do know that some people thought the Cliff Richard thing in the shadows in Thunderbirds ago was like, what? It's a bit naff, but just because you can, why not?
So we've discussed it before because they came out with different shows from and different themes, but TV Century 21, which was the comics, was really the spearhead of a multimedia kind of organization that really did a lot of different things across different media. So one of the things that surprised me was how many records they made on this label. And you can see there you've got the TV 21 themes, which we've looked at before, which has Doctor Who and Stingray and all of that. But with Thunderbirds, they had many stories, and you could pick your favorite Thunderbird. So you can see there's Thunderbird 1, Thunderbird 2, Thunderbird 3, and they all have different adventures with the different characters highlighted on each album. And a lot of them were actually new stories narrated for the records. So sometimes when they did stuff like this, they would cut down a real existing episode, but other times they would actually get the original cast and get original score and make up new stories. And one of the crazy things that this has allowed, a couple of years ago, fans got together, rebuilt all of the sets, rebuilt all of the puppets, made it look 60s authentic, and then got these records, which were unproduced stories. So they had the original voice artists and made new episodes of Thunderbirds.
That's what you call dedication. Ironically, as it is, got a Rusky Babes and Jeffro, who are watching this, were involved with a Thunderbirds fan film back in the 80s called, I can't remember what it's called now. Nosy Parker is Go. And the guy who made it, Jeff Smart, reproduced everything himself. Tracy Island, the ships. I mean, it was only a short film, but it looked 100% like the real thing. So, yes, fans doing things to celebrate the show are not a new concept. You were talking about what got destroyed. Well, Rusky Babes has made a point of saying that one of the buildings they blew up in the titles was the Supercars old base. I don't know if that's what you were referring to. No.
Yeah, so they when they made this, they blew up a lot of their old stuff in the base of sort of goodbye to the old and in with the new, which was a sort of interesting concept. I guess when you're a show like this, the puppets did get repurposed, and most of the time they actually did build new ones because they were always upgrading the technology. But there are sites which show Parker was originally this in this and before this and that kind of thing, which is interesting. But we won't go into that. We're looking more at the merchandise.
Is this the person you're referring to adapting the records through crowdfunding? Oh, there you go. William actually backed it, so there you go. So
he was one of the fans we were talking about. So there you go.
Very cool. And I think Jeffro has a friend, I don't know if he's still watching or not, in Adelaide, who actually ended up with two of the puppets from the show that he actually bought. This is back in the 90s, if I'm not mistaken. They're the real thing. He actually wanted them in Australia. So, but I can't remember which ones there are. If Jeffro's watching, he can tell me. This is Kelly I'm referring to. But anyway, sticking with the music.
Sorry, excuse me. So, yeah, with a lot of the other shows, there were one or two albums. Thunderbirds had dozens of them. And you can imagine when you got the comics, you can see the adverts on each one of these pages. I put the adverts. So if you were into pop, you'd probably get, your countdowns and stuff like that, and it would show you the new pop releases for the week. TV 21, their own comic, was then advertising the different new release on the TV 21 label. So each week you could see if anything new was coming out, and you sort of every 6 months there'd be 6 new albums that you could add to. So before VHS or being able to record stuff, I guess some kids would record it with reel-to-reel tapes, you would be able to get these. They had fantastic colourful covers, which were to do with what was the story on them, and you could take these home and build a collection. And this is, I guess, like collecting videos or DVDs before they existed. But I think it's quite a genius way of advertising, where if you've got the voice artists there and you've got all the special effects, all you need to do is press these and put them out, and you've got the newspaper that's advertising them yourself. So it probably was quite lucrative for them.
Very cool. Jeffro's confirmed was Tintin and Brains. So I think he had the original marionettes, or at least one set, because they made duplicates of the marionettes. He had one set of Tintin and Brains that he paid a fortune for them at an auction. Jeffro can confirm this. And so I assume they're still here in Australia. So there's actually a couple of real life screen-used Thunderbirds hanging out in Adelaide, if they're still there. So
I do think I've got an article with that in at the time that I kept. It might have been in TV Week. There was a big auction of Gerry Anderson stuff. At the time, it seemed expensive, Now you're like, oh, that was all peanuts, but that's just
Yeah.
relative, I guess, isn't it? So
Yeah, that's the price of inflation and all the rest of it. So yeah, very, very cool.
yeah. So there you go, and this is again what I was saying about the whole other side of it, where it was really strange that the female character got pushed so hard, but she was very, very popular, and she had just as many singles and music releases as the Thunderbirds did, and they were just as popular. So they had full-page ads, they had their own stories. It was usually her and Parker out on their own adventures, helping the Thunderbirds, but she was the main character. And what I've said a couple of times before, it was really unusual at the time for a female almost to be the James Bond and not the sidekick for a series like this.
Yep, totally agree with you. Very, very unconventional for its time, and that's the reason why it worked so very, very well.
Now, we've looked at these before. These are one of my favorite items. We've looked at the different Give a Show projectors, and this is the Thunderbirds Give a Show projector, and it is as beautiful as all the others. It has that very colourful 60s box artwork. Chad Valley, who did the Give a Show projectors, obviously had their in-house artists who did this, because it's not like the other Thunderbirds merchandise. It is sort of fits with the Chad Valley Give a Show projectors. The Thunderbirds one has all the Thunderbirds. It has different slides with different stories. Each slide kind of concentrates on 7 different little pictures that tell a comic story on the different characters and the different Thunderbirds. Not only was Thunderbirds in their own Give a Show projector, but it was popular enough that when they did sort of greatest hits and best of and, extra stories, it was mixed in with the other ones. So you can see there's one on the bottom there that has Stingray and Popeye and Daleks and Thunderbirds all together, which is quite cool, because they're all on different channels and all from all over the world, but they all came together as sort of a family on the Chad Valley Give a Show projectors.
Mighty fine stuff. And of course, you can't go past your games. Is that right, dude?
Yeah, and this is where I started going through stuff and going, wow, there is just so much here. We're not going to be able to do this on one episode, because Thunderbirds had board games in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and new ones still coming out in this century. And again, with a lot of the board games we've looked at, it's often we will get a themed version of Snakes and Ladders or a themed version of another game. The Thunderbirds games are really interesting in that they took the international rescue story and they ran with it and made totally different games. So you would often get the entire globe is the board, and then you would pick missions, and the missions were in different areas of the world, and then you would pick the Thunderbirds and the crew that you had to do them. And what is really nice, most of the games were about competing to help people and things like that. Yeah. And really unusual for board games, a couple of the Thunderbirds games were one-player games as well. So if you didn't have any friends, like Daniel or Colin, they could have got the Thunderbirds game and they could have played it by themselves.
Oh, geez, that's a bit rough. We all know that Colin's got friends. Interesting that looking at the Atlantic Ocean here, whereas I always thought Tracy Island was set in the Pacific Ocean. That's what I was aware of, but... yeah.
Yes. Well, it's one of those things where they don't want to really let anyone know where it is, Dags.
Well, the problem is, of course, if you're trying to sell this in England, and of course, if the UK doesn't appear in the game, people go, "Well, I'm not going to buy that." So maybe that was the mindset behind it. So, yeah.
And these are some of the more modern games, and I think what is fantastic, the artwork as it becomes updated goes through different eras. So you can see the 60s ones have very 60s artwork, and on the last page we had some 70s ones as well. And then you get to the 80s and the 90s, and you can see the artwork changes in that it's sort of more realistic and more true to life. And then you've got more dynamic and more colourful artwork as well. You can see the games have more mission cards and more complicated. And what I really thought, I haven't played the game, but I was looking into it, like this TV show, you could get Thunderbird 2 and then you can load different things into it with what you think may help you on your mission. So if you are a Thunderbird fan, I think you're really well served with the amount of games and the variety and the quality of them that are out there.
Questions come through. So Gavin's asked if we're going to be showing Lego tonight. No, but I'm assuming there would have been pops of Thunderbirds, yeah?
I don't know if there have been Thunderbirds pops. It's one of those when I was thinking about, I don't think I've seen any Gerry Anderson ones.
So maybe. While Aaron looks a tad puzzled, let's get into the puzzles.
You're a comic genius. These are some of the puzzles, and it's interesting that these are very hard to get. As you can see, I found most of the ones that were available. And like a lot of the puzzles from the 60s that were aimed for kids, they turned up mashed and very disposable. So it's very hard to get these with a good box that hasn't been crushed at the sides. Yep.
You know why it's worth getting them? Because as we know, the Thunderbirds, especially jigsaw puzzles, they're all about world peace. Get it?
Yes, I get it.
Jeez. Yeah.
You're not as funny as the Vial.
No, and Jeff Rose just confirmed apparently there are 3 pop vinyls. So there you go. Anyway, keep going.
There you go. So I will look at them when we look at more modern Thunderbirds merchandise. It is interesting. I thought it was really funny. You've got iconic pictures of the Thunderbirds there, made into jigsaws, and on each of the boxes they've used Thunderbird 1 launching as sort of the main image on the box. Wouldn't you feel ripped off if you've got that middle jigsaw where the jigsaw box is Thunderbird 1 launching and the actual puzzle is the same picture as they've used on the artwork on the box? So you've got the puzzle of it, the box of it, and the picture of the puzzle. At least the other ones have different photos that you put together. It's one of those things that amuse me. It's probably not that funny.
The one at the top right with the guys, you're thinking, the chance of that selling, you think most kids would be interested in the hardware, like Thunderbird 2 and number 1. So and I go, kind of like interesting sort of way of looking at it. But I guess I have to market to everybody. Not everybody's interested in hardware. But I do tend to agree with you, though. It's some interesting way of producing it. And
then there's some older puzzles, the ones on the top right there, which are the different members of the Tracy family, which I was saying, they played into, where you'd have your favorite and they made the merchandise of it. So even if you only liked one, there was one for you to grab. Then there's some more modern puzzles there, and boy, the artwork gets really good. The one at the top left there, I could almost see that on a Thunderbirds carry case for your action figures. It reminds me of the Star Wars 70s sort of artwork for, they put on a carry case and you keep your figures in it, which they did figures by Matchbox that size. So there's my concept for a new Thunderbirds item. Down the bottom.
Well, it's funny, isn't it? You get to the point where you start doing the figures in a way that they don't even look like puppets anymore, marionettes. And they actually look like actual people. And it's like, then you're kind of playing with your brains a little bit. Because some people, if they've never seen the show, will go, oh, this looks really groovy. Where do I see this? Oh, it's a puppet show. Oh, really? And you expect the puppets to look like them, but they don't. So it's good that they've done that. So they haven't been forced to stick with the marionette look, and they should actually make it a bit more true to life, which is particularly groovy. So,
And then when they did make the live action show, most of the actors were wooden.
Let's not get into that. So that was complete rubbish. But anyway, so we had the TV series that was going on, and of course a year later they had to do the film, which by all accounts was successful, wasn't successful. Some people said it was worked better as a TV show than as a movie, but as it was, it still came out. Good old Thunderbirds are go.
Yeah, so Thunderbirds are go would sometimes turn up at the Valhalla. I never saw it, but I always meant to. I think the artwork for it is absolutely fantastic. It's very, very, very nice artwork, especially that main poster at the top there, which has got just about everything you could ever want. And again, which I think is really cool, where most movie posters would have the actors starring in it, they have got all the characters almost like actors along the bottom, but they're just the marionettes, which I think is a very cool concept. And even the catchphrase, excitement is go, adventure is go, danger is go, Thunderbirds is go. That is quite a good catchphrase for a movie poster. We looked at movie posters the last couple of weeks, and there were some pretty lame catchphrases, but those ones ain't lame. They're pretty good. There's also a couple of original lobby cards there, which are really, really super hard. What I found with these, the Thunderbirds movie posters, you can't even find them for sale. They are very, very rare items, because when I saw that main one, I thought, you know what? I wouldn't mind getting that poster. That's a great poster. Do you think it's a cheap poster, Dags, or do you think it's an expensive poster?
So which one were we looking at?
The main one with the red logo at the top center.
Oh, no, it's freaking fantastic. I love it. And, it's funny. You were just reading out the excitement is go, adventures go, dangerous go, right? And go, that is brilliant. You get down here and you go, see this, see that, see this. And you go, oh, see, Cliff Richard in the shadows. Like, obviously, they're trying to market it to an older audience. Go, oh, Cliff Richard, he's awesome, because a lot of kids wouldn't know who he is. So, I was wondering what the logic was behind that. But, yes, indeed. Oh, $2. Yeah, good on you. So, yes. Very, very cool. And you're mentioning Thunderbird 6 there as well. That was
Yes.
what you mentioned earlier.
So I haven't seen that. I'll have to check it down and check it out. I think because I'm pretty sure I've seen all the Thunderbirds episodes at one time or the other. I never chuck one on and see one I haven't seen. I don't recall Thunderbirds 6 though.
Yeah, so Rusky Babes, who's a bit of a Thunderbirds guy, or Jeffro, can tell us all about that if they could. And you'll talk about the posters. So how much you going to cough up for a Thunderbirds poster?
Yep, I tracked one down. I could only find one for sale worldwide in the UK, and it's £6,000 just about, which translates at the moment to just over $10,000. So I will not be buying a Thunderbirds poster for myself. Down the bottom, obviously that one pictured is an original one, so it is a little bit washed out and a little bit the paper is brown. You can see down the bottom there how vibrant and amazing that piece of art is. It really is one of those pieces of art that you could whack on a DVD case or something like that today, and it would still be just as appealing. There are some picture discs. For people who don't know, they're records with a picture printed on them on vinyl that use that artwork, and they look absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I think the soundtrack album had that cover as well. So which is it is very, very stunning. So even a reproduction, as you said, on the wall would look very, very groovy. But if records aren't your go and posters aren't your go the puppet route. And here we go.
Now, we've talked about this before with the puppets, and when we looked at the first couple of series with Torchy the Battery Boy and Four Feather Falls and a couple of those, the puppets were quite rudimentary. They were done by Pelham Puppets, and Pelham Puppets also did some of the Thunderbirds ones, but there were a couple of different companies that did Thunderbirds, and I guess because Thunderbirds has run for so long, you do get the license go from place to place. Some of them look damn creepy, and some of them look very good compared to what you get on the screen. Now, these are mainly vintage ones from the 60s. So even in the 60s, there were a lot of different versions. You can see they did Lady Penelope, they did all the Thunderbirds, they did Parker. So they did quite a range. They've got Brains there as well. So they did quite a range of the puppets. And then Lady Penelope also at the top there got her own line of fashion dolls with Tintin, which I didn't know about. So it is interesting. Out of all the franchises we've looked at, they've all been aimed at boys squarely when it comes to the merchandising. Do you think when they made this, they had in mind that Lady Penelope would be a good character for girls, or they just put it in and then they realized they'd managed to make this iconic character after the fact and then run with it?
No, I would have thought that was pre-planned, really. If anything, I would have thought that they thought that the male characters wouldn't sell. But the female ones would. I'm not entirely sure what the reasoning is behind that. It's a bit like heading down the Barbie doll route to a large degree. So, and of course, they wear different outfits and different clothes, and they can just go down their path accordingly. So, I can't imagine it was just an accident. I think it was definitely targeted. Or they may have done market research and said, oh, even though they've been doing the puppets for all these different shows, that more females play with them than males. I don't know. And they said,
well,
no, go female characters.
I guess like what Russ said, I guess Sylvia Anderson was now one of the major players at the company, so they're going to give her a good part. And Lady Penelope was the part that stayed with her for her whole life.
Yeah. That I think is a key thing. Yeah, exactly right. You were talking about Thunderbird 6 earlier. Adzi said he remembers it as a biplane, and then William came in and said it was a tiger moth biplane. So for whatever reason, it's something to do with brains. That's all, if I remember reading off the poster. So there you go. Adzi said, didn't Barbie do a lady? It wouldn't surprise me. That would have been much later on.
I think they did one when the movie came out, possibly.
What, the live action movie?
Yeah, I think they did a lot of merchandising then that didn't go very well. So
yeah. Interesting question from Gavin. So we know all the guys hang out on Tracy Island. Where did Lady Penelope hang out? Do you know?
She had an estate in London, didn't? Or in the British countryside, and would often be driving in and out the estate in her Rolls Royce. Yeah,
it's not exactly sticks out like a sore thumb, eh? Speaking of things sticking out, now we've looked at all this stuff. One of the things that we mentioned earlier that I think made the show massively successful was its hardware or ships. Ships doing really, really cool things, and ships that look vastly different from each other, including some really interesting and unique designs. And of course, there was these as well.
So this is really a preview of what's coming up next week, because they made so many different toys for Thunderbirds over the years. It's really an episode in itself. So if you have a favorite Thunderbird or like dinky toys or metal toys, or if you even like Matchbox toys and figures and stuff, there is enough material that we can spend a whole show looking at it, and that's what we're going to be looking at. Now, these were the early sort of first ones out in the 60s, and they are absolutely magnificent toys. They're very, very hard to get boxed, and they're even very hard to get in good condition because they're made out of that very brittle plastic. It's probably gone a lot more brittle with time as well, but even when they came out, Thunderbird 2's legs would snap off, the wings would snap off Thunderbird 1 just by, not even rough play, just by playing with it at the time. So these are some very iconic toys, and they're the start of a merchandising bonanza for spaceship collectors and Thunderbirds fans.
Totally agree, which actually brings us to the end of our presentation for this evening. So, yes, how good is that, Mr. Aaron?
I know. I think I must have missed sending you 2 slides as well, because I did some on cards, collectible cards, but they must not have come through. So I'll chuck them in at the beginning of next week.
Very, very cool. So there you go. So that actually brings us to the end of the topic. Now, are we doing next week on Thunderbirds again?
We are. We're going to finish off Thunderbirds next week, and we will be looking at other Gerry Anderson stuff. But because we've done, quite a bit of Gerry Anderson over the last month, we might come back to Captain Scarlet, in a month's time, and look at some other stuff in between. Maybe even Dag's favourite topic.
What?
Doctor Who.
Freaking Docky Who? Oh my God! Moneybag Sullivan's going to go. No, don't bring up the DW. Oh my God, he's losing his lunch right now. So unbelievable. Adzi said his dad stood on Thunderbird 2 and broke the legs. Oh well, you would be, eh? So all you had to do, Ads, was call International Rescue. They would have come and fixed it for you. So
yeah, calling International Rescue. International Rescue. I have ice cream up the arse.
Oh, see, I wasn't going to say that. Oh, good on you. For those who are watching this on replay and have chapter jumped right to the feature presentation, that was a reference back to the good on you, back to the vial file. So unbelievable. Oh, yeah, good on you, Gav. Yeah, Docky Who and Pops. Yeah, just like we need more of those in this bloody show. So yeah, there we go. I agree with you, Moneybag Sullivan. Turning off. If there's any Docky Who, unfortunately, it is around, and we're just not going to get rid of it. But anyway, that is for another day. So very, very cool. So I reckon we're at the end of this episode there, Mr. Aaron. What do you reckon, old son?
Yeah, thanks for everyone sticking with us tonight. Thanks for all the comments. I think a lot of people grew up watching Thunderbirds, and it's fun to go back and have a look at some of the different merchandise associated with it. If you think we've forgotten anything or want us to cover anything in particular next week, you can PM me and Dags, or leave a comment on the video or somewhere, and we'll try and look into it. Otherwise, thanks, guys.
Yeah, but if the comment says get off, then we're not going to read that one. In the interim, whether they're old or new, or from vintage, or they're just been produced yesterday, make sure you keep all your Thunderbirds collectibles mint in box.
Or rip them off the card.
FAB.
FAB.
Roger, got it. We'll be right there. Virgil, can you come in?
What is it, Dad?
I've just had a call from the space station near Mars.
What do they want?
2 capricciosa, small marinara, and the garlic bread.
Dad, don't tell me it's come to this. Delivering pizzas to remote parts of the galaxy. Oh, no.
There's just no money in international rescue, son.
Well, isn't there anything that we can do?
I've had a word to Brains. He's promised to pull a few strings.
Thunderbird 1 to base. Can you hear me, Dad?
Loud and clear, Scott.
I'm in trouble, Dad.
Where are you, son?
Trapped behind this picture.
Brains, can you come in here? I've managed to pull a few strings, Mr. Tracy. We've already done that joke, Brains. Oh. Har, har, har. I've got the new formula. 2 parts ham and pineapple, 1 part vegetarian. Good work, Brains.
I'm on my way, Dad.
I'll take that, Brain.
On my way, Dad.
Wait, Virgil. Aren't you forgetting something?
Sorry, Dad. Thunderbirds are go.
No, the garlic bread. Har, har, har.